I hope all of you had a fantastic Christmas, and what a fantastic Boxing Day we had with these championship games. We had some last minute goals, some drama, some high scoring games. It was a classic championship weekend. Obviously, I'm no Father Christmas now. It didn't really get the response I expected, but it's just one of those things. You've got to take risks in YouTube. There were no correct score predictions either, so unfortunately none of you will be getting the shout out. I actually had quite a good weekend being Father Christmas. I got 2 correct predictions, which was the Cardiff and Millwall game and the Middlesbrough and Huddersfield game. At the end of the video, I'm also going to wrap it up by giving you my championship team of the decade. Unfortunately, I can't really go into depth with it, otherwise this video is just going to take too long. I'll show you my team at the end of the video, and what I want you to do, leave your championship team of the decade in the comments down below, because it'll be a fantastic way to wrap up 2019 and to start a new decade in 2020. Obviously, there's so much football going around now, so I'm going to go through my score predictions on what I think will happen in Matchday 25 of the championship. So we'll quickly go through Birmingham versus Leeds. Leeds had a fantastic win against Birmingham last time. It was a pretty close game. I think it was 3-2 Leeds. And Birmingham so far has just not been really convincing. I think Leeds not been convincing either, but I think they'll get the job done being away from home, and because they have been quite strong away from home, I think they're the stronger side. I'm going to say 2-1 Leeds. Bristol City and Luton. Luton had a fantastic 3-0 home victory against Bristol City last time, and Bristol City losing 4 games in a row. Maybe Luton could do the double over Bristol City. Having said that, Luton are not on a strong run of form away from home. I'm not convinced with Luton. I'm thinking this will be a draw, because I don't think Bristol City are going to have the nerve to win. I think this will be 1-1. Fulham and Stoke. Stoke managed to get a 2-0 home victory, and one of their few clean sheets was from playing Fulham. For me, I think Fulham will have enough quality to edge past Stoke quite comfortably. I'm going to say 3-1 home victory to Fulham. Huddersfield and Blackburn. The last time these sides played each other, I remember it was a live game of football. It was a 2-2 draw. I think it's going to be the same score. I think this will be a 2-2 draw. I think both sides will be up for it. I think Huddersfield may be more or less likely to win, but I would say Blackburn will do just about enough to get a point out of it. Millwall and Brentford, 2 very strong sides going against each other. Millwall had a very shocking away victory against Brentford last time. I could easily see that happening. I can easily see Millwall doing double. But for me, Brentford are in such a strong run of form right now. I just don't think anything could stop them at the moment. I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-1 away victory. Nottingham Forest and Wigan Athletic. Wigan had a really strong fight against Nottingham Forest last time. It was a 1-1 draw at the DW Stadium. Nottingham Forest had a pretty good win against Hull, which I'll talk about later on in the video. I'm going to say that Nottingham Forest may edge Wigan by 2-0. Preston and Reading. Preston don't have a strong record against Reading, and Reading managed to score by Virginia, scoring in the 97th minute. It was a 1-0 home victory with Mark Bowen's first game in charge. It was a very dramatic game. I think Preston are deep down. I don't think they'll lose, but following their poor record against Reading, I'm going to say it's a 1-1 draw. I think Preston will be left frustrated in this game. Queen's Park Rangers as a whole. If I remember right, I think Queen's Park Rangers scored a 3-2 away victory against Hull at the KCOM. It was a very entertaining game. I think there'll be more goals as well. Following Hull's pretty stop-start form, I could see Hull winning, but at the same time, I think Queen's Park Rangers will be able to score plenty, but I think they'll concede plenty as well. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw then. Sheffield Wednesday and Cardiff. I'm struggling with this one, to be honest with you. I'm really struggling with this. Sheffield Wednesday weren't great in their last 2 games for me. Cardiff have not been that great either. They were okay against Millwall, but they didn't really play their best. This game could really go either way, so I'm going to go for a shock victory for the away side. I'm going to say a 2-1 away victory to Cardiff. Swansea and Barnsley. I'm going to say another shock. I say Barnsley being the better side on form and on paper at the moment. Swansea at home have also not been great, so I'm going to say a 2-1 away victory to Barnsley. West Brom and Middlesbrough. I could see these 2 drawing actually, but for me, I think West Brom will get a grip and get a 2-0 home victory. I think they've got enough within them, especially with Middlesbrough not winning away from home so far this season. I think West Brom will be fine with that. Derby and Charlton, the final game. Charlton winning for the first time in over 12 games, which is insane. Derby not doing too well, but although Derby have looked quite good at home, I'm going to go with that logic, and I'm going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw. So this is what the table would look like following Boxing Day's roundup results and my score predictions following Matchday 25. Obviously, if you like what you see, you want to see more Championship content, you want to see more of me, it'll be very much appreciated if you give this video a like. Also, please share the channel so we can continue growing this wonderful football community we have. And also, please subscribe if you haven't done, or if you're new around here. All of that will be fabulously appreciated. But without any further ado, let's go through the roundup on what we saw on Boxing Day. So we'll start off the game at the Riverside Stadium with Middlesbrough managing to squeeze a 1-0 home victory against Huddersfield Town. It was a great individual play from Tavernier. He's been very difficult to handle lately and he was heavily involved in the goal. He calmly passed it to Fletcher, who then gave it to Jid Spence, who managed to smash it past Grabara. I then look at the goal back. You think Grabara, should he have saved it? I mean, for me, it was a lot of power, but maybe he could have had a stronger hand to it. But for me, Huddersfield never really got going until the second half, until Meunier had a chance from practically 2 yards out and he smashed it over the bar. It was glimpses of what I saw Meunier in last year when Huddersfield were in the Premier League. Meunier also tried from distance, but Pears easily saved it in the end. But overall, I'd say Middlesbrough had quite a lot of control in the game and it's very encouraging form. Middlesbrough have won 4 home games in a row now and have lost a home game in their last 6 home games. So this is very encouraging form for Middlesbrough, and if anything, it is the best way for them to try and survive. And if they want to try and get a better position next season, they'll just have to improve their away record. But if they can now start winning at home, you know, I think under Jonathan Woodgate, I think this system can work. And obviously, the more home games you win, the more competence you'll get, and that is going to heavily help Middlesbrough. With Huddersfield, they've been really struggling lately. Huddersfield so far are proving to be quite inconsistent in their run of form. They've lost 3 games out of their last 6. I think County still has his work cut out. What I'm seeing, there is potential. There's a clear system that he wants to operate under Meunier, trying to win ahead of him from his height. Colin Grant has obviously been heavily involved in the system as well. But it doesn't always work, and I think what Huddersfield need to do, they need to start games better, and that's even at home. They need to control the game from the first whistle, because if they do that, then Huddersfield may have a chance every time. But it's a fantastic win for Middlesbrough, who actually overtake Huddersfield now in the table and are 6 points clear of the relegation zone. So overall, a very, very good day for Middlesbrough. So now we have a fair 1-1 draw with Blackburn and Birmingham. There were very few clear-cut chances. It wasn't the best game of football. Gallagher hit a half volley over the bar following a terrific pass from Buckley. Birmingham's best chance the first half was probably from Mbati. In the second half, I think the game, that's when it really came to life after Blackburn received a penalty with Harding trying to tackle Gallagher. My decision, definitely a penalty. His tackle was very, very late. Armstrong sent Truman the wrong way and Blackburn were then 1-0 up. But then they cheaply gave the lead away, with then Birmingham then receiving a penalty after Bell fouled Magona by having an outstretched leg. Very, very silly challenge from Bell, especially as Blackburn could have used this lead to gain a little bit of control over the game. However, they didn't. I'd say Blackburn were probably the closest to gaining a winner at the end after Williams managed to head a ball, but it hit the crossbar. But Truman and Walton, for me, were really terrific in their goals, keeping the scoreline down. Blackburn continued their undefeated streak to 8 games now, which is really good for them. However, they've not won in their last 2 games now. They've now drew their last 2 games. So if Blackburn want to try and get into a high position of the table and to get bigger ambitions, they need to try and get those draws into wins as soon as they can. They are 9th and they're only 3 points off the playoffs, so they are in a reasonably good position at the moment, and I'll say they have every chance if performances improve. With Birmingham, I mean, they did well to get a draw out of it in the end, because I don't think they were really great in the game, but they were at times quite threatening, but Walton didn't really need to make a really top class save though. But I'm pretty sure on a waypoint against a side good in form, I'm sure they'll take it. And another 1-1 draw happened at the Cardiff City Stadium, which I correctly predicted it was a 1-1 draw between Cardiff and Millwall. It was quite a good game actually, with both teams having chances in the first half. The more clear cut for me came to Cardiff, with Belkowski having a terrific performance in goal. He made a great save from Glatzel, who did well to manoeuvre past Jake Cooper, but his best save came from Deline Lee Tomlin when he's bang on form and he lashed a fierce volley hitting at the corner, but Belkowski managed to make a fingertip save and kept the ball out. However, he could not prevent Cardiff scoring from a set piece. It was a corner, Bennett delivered it, it was tapped by Pack, and Flint, completely unmarked, managed to smash it home in the roof of the net. However, 5 minutes later, Millwall made a great response, and it was from what I call a stunning free kick from Jed Wallace. A type of goal that would get people talking for weeks if Ronaldo and Messi did the same. And it's goals and moments like this about why I love the Championship. And to quote on Forrest Gump, a Championship game is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, really. Cardiff have lost in their last 3 games now, but they've got 3 draws in a row. They're in 11th place at the moment, so they're in an alright position. They're just above mid-table. But if, let's say, Cardiff want to try and get into the playoffs, they need to make sure they turn those draws into wins as soon as they can. They've not lost for a while, so they're being very resolute in trying to make sure that they don't lose any points, but they need to make sure they get maximum points. With Millwall, I think this was a great response after their home defeat against Barnsley. I thought for large parts of that game, Millwall played some fantastic stuff and really did put Cardiff under pressure as well. And I'll go at it again, I've been very disappointed recently with Millwall's away form, but the fact they're now picking up points away from home, the signs are very, very good for me with Millwall and Gary Rowett. I think he could really take the side a really long way if he can continue what he's doing. Tactically, I think Millwall are looking better as well. I think Rowett and Millwall combination could be a match made in heaven, particularly next year if Rowett has the chance to sign some new players. And what an away victory we had with Nottingham Forest. They crafted a 2-0 away victory, and Hull's 3-game home winning streak has now come to an end. Hull should have scored first for me. Jackson Irvine met a great free kick from Bone, but lashed it over the bar. It was a horrendous miss. And I think Irvine took out his frustration on Samba Sow and conceded a penalty. Graben then managed to calmly smash the ball home. For the rest of that half, I thought it was very scrappy, and nothing else really came to it until the second half. I say Forest continued to put Hull under pressure. Semedo for me was absolutely terrific. He was the engine in all of Forest's attack for me. And Forest's second started and finished from Lewis Graben on the counter-attack. He made the whole thing look so easy, and he worked really well with Thiago Silva to make the goal. And he managed to smash home, and that ended 2-0. Hull for me looked very flat in that game, really did, and out of ideas, I say, they were really over-reliant on Grzycki and Bowen. They're both of their wingers to try and loop some hopeful balls in the box and hoping someone would meet them. But Forest were really well prepared for that, and I say Forest in the midfield and in terms of their open play, they really played out Hull, which just surprised me following how strong Hull have been at home. But this is a good response with Nottingham Forest, and maybe this could be the start of Nottingham Forest regaining a little bit of momentum and trying to fight back to the playoffs where I feel like with that squad they should be. And we potentially have one of the most dramatic games, with Wigan being denied all 3 points by a 93rd minute equaliser. It was not a great game of football, I'm going to say that. There weren't many clear-cut chances. Derby, I say, had a few more chances, with Waghorn being a handful, but Wigan came the closest to scoring first, with Robinson hitting the post after Jacobs put him through. Obviously a Derby player, he was really, really good in that game. Eventually Wigan got what they deserved in the 81st minute, where Jacobs found Garner, who did a backwards volley. It was fantastically executed. Looked quite scrappy because Derby failed to clear it, but execution was perfection. However, Wigan have a very poor record in taking the lead and losing points. They've dropped 22 points from winning positions at the final 15 minutes of the game. That is absolutely outstanding. If they kept all those 22 points, they would be 3rd place in the table, which is absolutely staggering. However, Waghorn was completely unmarked from a long throw, and he smashed the ball, hitting the crossbar, just about going across the line, and that was Derby's equaliser. I say it was pretty smash and grab, because Derby, I don't think, were really entering the game, especially in the midfield. Wigan, I think, were playing to win, and it's definitely going to really break their hearts that they didn't manage to hold on to the final minute. But I am seeing encouraging signs. But what really concerned me is that this was their home performance, and if they're going to survive, they need to win at home. They've not lost in their last 4 games, which I think is kind of encouraging, but they've not won, which is why they are in this position. And I mean, they're in this position because Wigan have not won in their last 12 games. So they need to win as soon as they can. They've matched Charlton's poor winless streak now. Derby's still not a very convincing performance, and I say, how much time are you going to give Philip Cocu? I'm going to guess that Mel Morris is going to see how Wayne Rooney operates with Philip Cocu and see if that improves results. If it doesn't improve results given by February or March time, I'd say Philip Cocu would need to be moved on, because Derby in 18th with that squad is absolutely despicable. It's really, really bad for me. And to think that this side were really close to the Premier League last year, that's even more crazy. And now we're going through the games with plenty of goals. First off, at Griffin Park, with Brentford getting a 3-1 home victory, beating great travellers Swansea City. Swansea started brightly, but Brentford got 2 goals in 5 minutes. Starting with Mbumio, Jensen delivered a great corner met by Ethan Pinnock, which then allowed Mbumio to head the ball in the net. 5 minutes later, Watkins scored his 14th goal of the season after Henry made a fantastic first-time cross, and then he volleyed it past Woodman, who helplessly tried to keep it out but unfortunately couldn't. Swansea then got back into it with Raya making a very silly mistake. He spilled a shot from Selena and Ayew pounced on it. And Swansea were given a temporary lifeline. I thought Swansea could have tried to regroup and to try and snatch something. However, the game was won by Brentford after Watkins got his 15th goal of the season from Josh Da Silva with a fantastic assist, and Watkins charged forward with confidence. He went through the defence and smashed the ball in the bottom corner. Brentford for sure are probably the team in form in the Championship with 4 wins out of their last 6 games. They are 3rd place at the moment, 8 points behind Leeds. So right now they're the closest to try and knock Leeds off in the top 2, with Sheffield Wednesday, Fulham and Preston on 39. So the playoffs and the teams just below the playoffs are so tight. Anyone could honestly finish at the playoffs at this rate. But the fact that Leeds and West Brom have dropped points this weekend, you will say that maybe, just maybe, one of these teams could have a chance to sneak into the promotion places. With Swansea, it was a poor defeat from their part. I mean, apart from their lucky goal that they got, they didn't really trouble Brentford all that much. They kind of rolled over and allowed Brentford to play their game. And the little fight really did concern me. They're 8th place at the moment, however, they have lost 3 in their last 6. And they had previously won 2 of their games, so I thought Swansea could have had a really good run of momentum, but unfortunately that streak has now ended. What Swansea are going to have to pick themselves up from this? If they can pick themselves up from this, I could say they will have a really strong chance of getting to the playoffs. And we had Barnsley managing to salvage a draw against West Brom. I mentioned that this had the potential to be an upset, and to be honest, I wasn't even far off. West Brom took the lead in 5 minutes, with Radlinger making a poor pass to Gravinovic. He did very well though, taking 2 touches to score a stunner from about 25 yards out. It was terrific. However, Barnsley had a fantastic response for it and really put West Brom under pressure. Jacob Brown had the volley saved from St Johnstone. Anderson then headed the ball into the crossbar. Johnston made another fantastic save from Chaplin. West Brom just never looked like that they had control of the game, and they were on the ropes for a good 80 minutes. They eventually gave way in the 90th minute when Helm managed to score, with Chaplin making a great cross, and Helm simply had to tap it home. Barnsley are doing well under Struber. They've not lost in their last 4 games. They've picked up 11 points in their last 6 games as well, only dropping 7 points in the process. And this is the kind of form that Barnsley have been craving for the past 2 months now, because they've had fantastic performances but just not been rewarded. Now it looks like they're starting to be rewarded for it, and it's taken a different manager, different identity, different sort of mentality to get that through, and I'm really happy for Barnsley. They're 23rd, so they're not quite out of the relegation zone yet, but they're only 1 point of safety, and Barnsley do have every chance to survive following that strong run of form. With West Brom, I mean, their win streak continues. They've not won in their last 2 games now. They've dropped points, but lucky for them, Leeds have also dropped points as well. So West Brom has still not lost ground from the top of the table. They're still 3 points ahead of Leeds with a slightly better goal differential as well. I think if West Brom win their next game, I think they can start regaining momentum again. But they've not lost in their last 14 games. West Brom are on absolute fire. I know, I'll be very surprised if they don't get promoted at this rate. And then we had an absolutely dramatic game happening at the Valley. It was a real topsy-turvy game with both sides taking the lead at some stage, but in the end it ended as a 3-2 home victory to Charlton. Charlton then opened the scoring just before half-time with Morgan creating a fantastic pass, meeting Macaulay-Bonne, who managed to chip it over Daniel Bentley and it managed to bounce through to the roof of the net. In the second half, Bristol City started extremely well. Lee Johnson brought on Eliasson and he was the difference. He really made Bristol City a different side, to be honest with you. They managed to equalise from Andres Weimann after Eliasson managed to make a cross and Weimann managed to head the ball into the net. But then Eliasson managed to score Bristol City's second with Weimann passing it to Nagy. Did a great one-touch pass to Eliasson and managed to smash it past Phillips. And I thought from then on, I thought Bristol City were going to hold on. It looked like that Bristol City were going to intimidate Charlton once again with their away form and Charlton's winless streak was going to continue. But how wrong were we? Charlton's second goal though, it was disastrously defended by Bristol City, especially from Thomas Callis. Phillips took a long goal kick which met Bonne, which managed to lay it off to Taylor. Callis was marking Bonne, he tried to head it but he lost out and Bonne had the simplest of tasks and hit the ball at the roof of the net past Bentley. And then 4 minutes later, the ultimate sucker punch happened for Bristol City where Doherty managed to score his first professional goal, who had shot a goal but Bentley spilt it, but Doherty finished the job to complete Charlton's comeback. It was a fantastic game from the neutral, not a great result for Bristol City at all. They're on a losing streak on 4 games now, and it has seen Bristol City drop out of the playoffs and are now 10th place, 4 points outside the playoffs. At the moment, they're outside the promotion race in my opinion until they rid this streak and they try and move on from it. But I don't think their performance was even that bad. At times they played well and they did go ahead at some stage. It was from that second goal I think Bristol City's heads were just gone and they just ultimately couldn't hold on to the lead in the end. With Charlton, their winless streak has ended after 12 games. They've now got a win for the first time since October. It's still not brought them clear of the relegation zone just yet. I say they still need to fight hard for it. They are 7 points off, so that's going to encourage them. And I think maybe Charlton could start having a good run of form again following their fantastic win. Another bonkers game happened at Kenilworth Road with a 3-3 draw between Luton and Fulham. Fulham cheaply gave the ball away after Rodak rode the ball to Mawson. He got dispossessed by Lua and he managed to stroke the ball past Rodak despite getting a hand to it. But then Fulham equalised 4 minutes later with absolute ease with a great cross from Cavallero and Bobby Reid managing to head the ball down past Sluga. Luton then scored their second goal from a set piece. A free kick was taken by Berry, which was met by Bree, who headed it to Collins, who managed to put Luton ahead for the second time. But once again, Fulham equalised after Tunnicliffe hit the bar. Knockout hit a corner, which was headed by Mitrovic, leading, who had no problem hitting the net and is still the top goal scorer of the championship, and that was 2-2. But then Fulham made another error leading to goal with Jay Bryan this time, who got dispossessed, and that was then capitalised by Harry Cornick. And by that time I thought Luton may have smashed and grabbed all 3 points. They were leading 3-2, but in the last minute of the game, Sluga made a great save from Mitrovic, but he spilled the ball to Reid, who had the simplest of tasks of smashing the ball at the top of the net. A little bit similar to the situation when Reyes spilled the ball to Andre Ayew. It'd be very disappointing with Luton's part. They've not won in their last 5 games. They have ended their 3-game losing streak though, which is, I guess it's kind of encouraging. And for me, for them to take the lead 3 times but then still not win, Luton cannot help but feel very disappointed by it. At times they really did put Fulham under pressure, and to manage to score 3 goals against them as well I think was great. But they are just not defensively organised. They just don't look really drilled defensively. Fulham did well to dig deep and to get something from this. They're still keeping up with the pace in the playoffs as well, following not losing that game. They're on 39 points, only 1 point behind third place Brentford. I don't know whether that they will get promoted, like I said in my mid-season predictions, but they definitely have the attacking players for it. They definitely showed up, and if there's anything that's going to let them down for being promoted, it's their defence, because I thought Luton heavily tested it, and 2 of their goals definitely could have been so avoidable if they hadn't made mistakes from the back. But it was a very entertaining game for the neutral, 3-3, a classic championship game with drama. It had everything, so I'm happy for the game overall. Sad for Luton that they didn't win, following how much they managed to control the game at times, but Fulham dug deep and they did what they had to do and to not lose. And Stoke got for what could be a very important 3 points, with Barnsley, Wigan and Luton not managing to win this weekend. James McLean took the lead after Iorfa got his feet wrong and he managed to lose the ball cheaply just outside the penalty box, and McLean used the opportunity and made it count and shot it past Dawson. Stoke took the lead for a very long time, and at that time Leeds managed to make a brilliant goal line clearance. Adam Reach then hit the crossbar for Sheffield Wednesday before half-time. That was their closest chance for Sheffield Wednesday to go ahead. In the final half hour though, Gary Monk brought on his 3 substitutions and Sheffield Wednesday managed to turn the game on its head and change the scoreline, with Bannon delivering a great corner which was met by Morgan Fox, who managed to lift the ball past Butland. Minutes later, Leeds managed to score after from clearing the ball off the line. Winnall made a header which was well saved by Butland, but Leeds managed to score from the rebound, and that was 2-1 Sheffield Wednesday. I thought they might have nicked all 3 points. However, 2 stoppage time goals completely changed the game. Sheffield Wednesday failed to clear the ball, and Klukas' header managed to be smashed home by Tyrese Campbell to make it 2-2. And then the former Burnley striker Ben Vokes, who was brought on near the end of the game by Michael O'Neill, managed to score a corner and poked it home, and that was at the 97th minute to make it 3-2 Stoke. This could be a very important 3 points. If they'd have lost this game, they would be in a really sticky situation, but the fact they've won this game and the fact that the teams around them had not managed to win either, a very important victory for Stoke. They are just above the relegation zone on 21 points, joining on points with Luton because they have a much better goal difference. Stoke do need to improve their form. They've only won twice in their last 6 games, but it's performances like that tell me that Stoke do have what it takes to survive. And if there's anything that they need to do, they just need to be better defensively, because attacking wise, I thought Stoke looked very solid. Sheffield Wednesday, it was a very unusual feeling for them. They had a defeat, their first defeat for quite some time. But from their pretty average performance against Bristol City, I knew that they weren't going to be strong against Stoke, which is why I didn't predict them to win, which is why I said 1-1, but I didn't think they would lose. Stoke really rose up to the challenge, and despite Sheffield Wednesday going ahead at some stage, they just couldn't hold on for the full 90 minutes. It'll be disappointing on their part that they didn't win, but I think Stoke got what they deserved. I think they were absolutely terrific at times. Then to a later game, a top of the table clash, an enthralling game for what I can describe at Ellen Road, with the game ending as a 1-1 draw. Preston were almost gifted a goal after Casilla tried to play out from the back and Potts missed an open goal. However, it was fantastically defended by Calvin Phillips. But Preston took the lead, what they deserved, through a counter-attack. Barcusen laid the ball to Brown, who shot well past Casilla. Leeds, I thought, were very poor in the first half. The best chance in the first half was probably from Adioski, who managed to receive the ball from Click, and he shot the ball just wide of the post. However, in the second half, Leeds were back at their best. It was a completely different side. Adioski shot the ball way over the bar. I thought he should have done better with that. Nketiah headed a great ball, but it was well saved by Declan Rudd, who I thought had a great game in Preston's goal. Later on, Alioski hit a great volley which came off the left post, and you felt with the chances they had, Leeds were going to score, and if Preston were going to score their second, they weren't going to win the game. And Leeds eventually did score from Stuart Dallas, scoring in the 88th minute from a deflection, and it got out of reach from Declan Rudd. It was a fantastic away performance from Preston. I was criticising them how they weren't great away from home. They're actually the lowest scorers away from home this season, with 7 goals, which is actually really surprising considering the position that they're in. But they have improved away from home. They do play a unique style. They do play from the counter-attack and put teams with a high pressure, but it does work. They did concede in very unfortunate circumstances as well. It was a deflection. If it wasn't deflected, Rudd could have probably saved it. But with Leeds, they dug deep. They were really good in the second half. Eventually, they just got what they were wanting, not to lose the game. And they probably could have even won with some of the chances they had, especially, as I mentioned, with Alioski hitting the post. It's going to feel frustrating for Leeds, especially as they didn't capitalise on West Brom not winning this weekend. They've still got a 3-point gap with West Brom. However, they've got an 8-point gap between them and third. And I think their aim this season is literally just to get promoted. They wouldn't care if they finish first or second. They just want to get promoted. And I think If this continues, I can see it happening, but they've got to win games. They can't just keep drawing all these games to the end of the season, because Brentford look like they're in a really strong run of form. If there's anyone that's going to catch Leeds, I think it will be Brentford. And then finally, we have a narrow 1-0 home victory from Reading, who managed to get past Queen's Park Rangers. In the first half, it was a very disappointing game. The main point, I think, was when Lumley had to make a double save with Ajaria and Swift getting involved. In the second half, that's when the game really got into life in terms of their quality. John Swift scored an absolute beauty, took a great touch and scored a great half volley with absolute perfection. What a strike it was. Queen's Park Rangers did have moments of good play between Eze and Bright Samuel. Eze almost scored a brilliant team goal, but Morrison managed to clear it off the line. Lucas Jowl then hit a great shot, which was well saved by Lumley. Elias Chair for Queen's Park Rangers then managed to hit the crossbar, and then Hugo had a close effort, which was saved by Raphael. But then Hugo had another close effort, which was once again saved by Raphael. It was a volley, and he saved it, I think, with his face. It was absolutely ridiculous how he managed to make that save. And I think Queen's Park Rangers will be feeling a little bit unfortunate and sorry for themselves that they did manage to win the game. However, I think with what I saw in terms of the chances and the play, I think Reading did deserve it. They did well to hold on and to keep a clean sheet as well. Raphael obviously being a large part of that. I thought he was absolutely sublime in Reading's goal. Whilst it had a disappointing first half, it had an unforgettable second half. So a game of two halves in terms of the neutral, and I think with Reading, this win's going to be very, very important for them. They're currently 15th of the table, have not lost in their last 4 games now, and there were concerns of Mark Bowen hitting the rocky patch of form, but they've not lost in the last 4 games, which I think is really encouraging for them. Queen's Park Rangers, they've dropped to 14th. They've not won in their last 3 either, but they've won 2 in their last 6 as well, so they're proving to be a little bit of an inconsistent side. If they can start winning again and try and get a streak going, I think Queen's Park Rangers could have a really strong end to the season and a really positive season. But for me, they've got potential in attack. They just need to improve their defence, which I keep going on about. But it's true. They can score plenty of goals. But when you're conceding over 45 goals, you've got a problem defensively. So maybe in the transfer window, that's what they need to address. But there you have it, guys. This is how the table looks after Boxing Day's games. In terms of my goal of the weekend, this is so difficult. I've got 2 goals in mind, Jed Wallace's and John Swift's. I'm going to give my goal to Jed Wallace, just about, but John Swift gets a very close second. It was so tight between those 2 players, but Jed Wallace just about makes the goal a little bit more memorable to me, so that's why he'll get my goal of the weekend. Result of the weekend is very interesting. I'm going to give my result of the weekend to Stoke 3, Sheffield Wednesday 2. Really important victory for Stoke, near the bottom of the table, with Sheffield Wednesday near the top of the table. It was a topsy-turvy game with Stoke winning, then Sheffield Wednesday winning, but then Stoke completing the comeback. It was identical to Charlton and Bristol City. They would get a close second as well, but for me, I'm just going to edge it with Stoke and Sheffield Wednesday, especially with Sam Vokes managing to score in the final minute of the game, the 97th minute, which is insane. The player of the weekend. This is so interesting. I'm actually unsure who to award it for this week. I might edge my player of the weekend to Macaulay Bonne. He had a really poor run of form in terms of his goals, but he scored 2 for Charlton, and he was the catalyst for Charlton winning that game. He was very, very dangerous and caused a lot of problems to Bristol City. And for me, he only just edges my player of the weekend. There were so many people I could have picked for in all areas of the field. But for me, the one player that sticks to my mind for how poor Charlton have been with their losing streak, Macaulay Bonne has now ended it and has made his claim to try and stay in the team sheet. So for my player of the weekend, I'm going to reward it to Macaulay Bonne. Once again, I hope you enjoyed your Christmas. So now I'm going to give you my Championship Team of the Decade. On the screen now is my Team of the Decade. Let me know what your Championship Team of the Decade is in the comments down below. It'll be a great way to wrap up 2019 and this decade as we say hello to 2020. Also, let me know of your reaction to last weekend's games and this weekend's games coming. Let me know in the comments down below as well. But that will wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like what you see, please make sure to give the video a like. It'll be very much appreciated. Share the channel if you can to grow a community. I would love it. And to subscribe if you haven't, or if you're new around here. All of that would make my day. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, have a happy new year and take care.